right, a very bright morning right in Rose City with some bit of rains. I know the farmers must be excited, but nonetheless, you're most welcome to the Kokoliriko live show, the Thursday edition right here on Western Television, both on satellite and online. For those of you watching us on satellite, that is via StarTimes channel 477. We do very much thank you. And for those who are also watching us, that is via online, that is on the various social media platforms, we also do as well appreciate you. And remember, feel free to drop your comments. That is on what we are going to be discussing right here on Western Television with you on this show that starts your ways every Mondays to Fridays. And remember, the team is already set. That is to also really let you know of what is happening right across the country and the world at large. And that is the reason as to why you must always be part of the show, because definitely if you are a person maybe who always loves the show, then you are going to be making informed decisions. And remember, for you to make informed decisions also really calls, that is for you to be aware of what is happening around your vicinities, and for you to only be aware of that, then Kokoliriko live show each and every mornings is the #1 answer for you to be doing that. And remember, as the learners are returning back home, many schools have already closed, that is for holidays. And what is the State Minister for Education saying? We did see the First Lady, that is Honorable Minister Janet Kataha Museveni, advising parents, that is to create playtime for children. And remember, usually we say work without play makes Jack a dull boy, and that is why when the students are returning and the learners and the pupils are returning back home, there's always need for them to also really have a time to relax their minds, because they have been busy occupied, that is with the books and other activities at school. And that is the reason as to why the First Lady is saying let them also really be kept home, that is through also really that is playing. And that is also a reason as to why, so that also really once they get back to school, they will also really be able to be focused there, because their minds have already been relaxed, and that will be the reason for them to also really be part of school there. And that is what the First Lady is saying. And we did see the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, that is Miss Janet Kataha Museveni, who asked, that is parents and caregivers, to accord children playtime. And that's also really something we did see, where she was speaking to mark the first National Play Day, that is at Kololo Independence Grounds. That was on the 30th of April, that aims at celebrating play as one of the most transformative forces in a child's life. And remember, children also really need that is also really playtime, because it is also really their mandate. It's also really their right, that is to play, because human rights also really guarantee children also to access to play there. And the day was celebrated under the theme "Play Where Imagination Takes Flight," and that is already where we did see that day very much important in the lives of the children. And we are saying also this day needs to be celebrated across the world and across the region. And really, we didn't see it celebrated very much in Western Sub-region, but we are yet following, and we are saying these are such days that these are such important days that needed to be also really respected across the globe and everywhere, so that also really the learners can also really identify and also really have time to also really celebrate also championing play there. Because once these children in school, there's something I always tell parents: these children are always busy, and the parents are keeping them busy, and the teachers are keeping them busy with the exercises, with the homeworks, with a lot of issues. And remember, once they come home, also parents want to give them a lot of homework. And this is where we have challenges, and this is where by the time the children are going back to school, they're already occupied and they are busy, and they're already also really also depressed in them. That would also really make it very much bad for them to understand what maybe the teachers are teaching them. It becomes very much difficult for them to actually grasp the concepts the teachers are trying to put in their minds, because they're already exhausted. And once they are home, my humble appeal is to every parent, much as we also want the children to be busy, because we don't want to see them loiter around the training centers, but let's also ensure that there is playtime for them, so that also really once they are within the training centers, once they are back for holidays, their brains also really get a bit relaxed. And Mr. Museveni explained that play contributes to human capital development, right from that is also initial stages of a child's life, so that by the time they begin also really by the time they begin formal education, they have an idea of what they want to be. So that's also a reason as to why the president also really the First Lady also really did call upon, that is also really the stakeholders to also really ensure that they create playtime for the children. And Mrs. Museveni said play helps children to become stronger and solvers and also critical thinkers. And remember, somebody who is also really playful may also develop that is proper thoughts in them. Mrs. Museveni said also really there is also really government, also the government of Uganda also recognizes the value of play in supporting children's holistic development and lifelong learning, as well as also really effort that is required by our stakeholders, including parents, also really to also ensure that they create playtime for the children in there. And that's also something we want to see, as the government also really very much recognizes the issue of play there. However, she believes that is children must be helped, that is to balance their various roles in life, that is ranging from learning through play is important, though children also should be involved in their schoolwork, extracurricular activities and household chores, among other responsibilities, as they are returning back home. And we do not want to see cases of that is early marriage and defilement cases also, like the case how we have seen it in Western Sub-region. And the only way to actually keep them busy as they return back home is through engaging them in what the First Lady has advised the parents to also ensure that they do. For instance, the issue of household chores, and then the issue of also really children being busy with also homework there. That would also really be quite good. And this is also really my appeal to the learners who are returning back home, more so those who are watching us right now at their homes. We say, once you are coming back home, let's ensure that the morning times is given priority for different works, and let's ensure that we balance, because we also have to ensure that we do homework, which is sort of what we call the house chores, and then the homeworks teachers have given us. This is the holiday work. I do understand some schools also really give children to go back home with what we call the holiday packages, and this is really the time as we are just fresh from school. Let's ensure we do them timely, and really so that also really would not grasp, that is also grapple with also the time, so that when the time of returning back to school almost approaches. I do understand some children and some students also really do not want to do these things timely, and when there's time for returning back to school, that's when they start fumbling and so struggling to see that they finish the work, and then they, which comes with a lot of challenges, with a lot of complications. I want to call upon now each and everybody to ensure that once they're returning back home, the children must be kept busy through different works. And as we continue with the show, you also, as the viewer, also can share your opinion on what you think exactly needs to be done to avoid the challenge of what we are talking about. And remember, she also noted that UNICEF is committed to upholding every child's right to play, ensuring that they thrive and also really reach their full potential. And that is also really what we are saying. And remember, that is a human right which we cannot also really violate and also really just let go of like that. And remember, violating a child's right is also really against the laws. And yesterday we did see that is also really the World Labor Day going on, and where we did see a number of stakeholders standing up. And one of the issues also really that was very much raised there is child labor, because child labor is really against the law. And this also calls for labor laws such that also really children are not taken advantage and manipulated of, because sometimes we do understand that some people employ children and take advantage of them. That is also really something that we also did see people talking about very much yesterday. That is in relation to what we call the World Labor Day, which did go on yesterday in Fort Portal, where the president also really did that is also talk about the issue of unemployment, calling it mostly on the issue of people also mindset. And where I did say some people also really must also really take advantage of the different programs, and that is also really how we shall be able to also really avoid what we call unemployment there. And that is something we did see the head of state, that is His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, very much talking of yesterday. That is in Fort Portal, where we did see a number of people turning up for this event, and it was a colorful one, I must say, as we still look forward to also celebrating and championing every person out there who is doing something to see to that also he gets something for himself, first of all, him or herself, and then secondly for their loved ones. That is also really a reason as to why we want to celebrate the World Labor Day. And this is also really a day where everybody must celebrate, and this also may be cherished this day because it is a day for workers. And remember, regardless of what you do, you could be maybe sitting in the office, and you could be also there as a hustler on the streets riding border, but much as that day is concerned, it is a day for all. And that means that you also really need to also really celebrate that day, and that is the reason as to why that that day is gazetted internationally, to also really see that also really we respect what we call World Labor Day. That is also something we did see going on yesterday, where we did see people raising concern over unemployment, which is really still a big challenge in the country. But really we call upon now each and everybody to see that also really they get engaged, that is in the different government poverty alleviating programs that are in there today, to also really see to that also people move out of poverty and the bar line that's of poverty in there. And really that is what we are going to be following up on, and we shall be able to sort of let you know of any development in line to that. As we move on with the show, we are also seeing here government sets ambitious targets, that's to boost tourism. Remember, tourism is still one of Uganda's also the main tourism potential attracting sites. And remember, today we do have a lot of tourism potential sites where we are seeing development of several infrastructure that's in line, that is to tourism, and that is what we are also saying. And now government is setting ambitious targets, that is to also boost tourism. And if you really see what government has gifted, that is Uganda with, and Uganda, what we call the Pearl of Africa today, has a number of potential tourism sites, even up to West Nile Sub-region. But what is still lagging for us as people of West Nile Sub-region is the issue of mapping, and most of our tourism facilities have not been marketed, and that calls for everybody to be ambassadors of tourism, regardless of what you do. And that is the reason as to why me and you, who is watching us right now, once we leave and once we move out. Let's market our facilities. Let's tell the world that we do have these potential tourism sites, because if you really see what is happening, we are gifted by nature, first of all, then also the grasslands is already there, God has given us, and then the other trees which have also already been given to us by God, but we are not taking advantage of them. That is in relation to what we call the tourism sector, and really we still have those potential tourism sites that need yet to be unearthed, and that calls for us to all work together. At the end of the day, that would also really be quite well. And I really want to call upon now each and everybody to ensure that we also are part and ambassadors of what we call the tourism sector, because we are not going to be leaving that only in the hands of maybe tourism ambassadors or the stakeholders alone, but rather we all have to be part of the drive that is to boost the tourism sector in what we call the West Nile sub-region. And this is where we are seeing a number of potential tourism sites. First of all, we are also really bordering, that is 2 countries, and really we also told that the third one is just not very far, that's Central African Republic, and the neighbors which we do have here, which are not very far. Looking at the neighboring countries, we do have South Sudan just in the north, and then DRC, just a neighbor in around a few meters actually from Arua city, that is to the neighboring DRC there. And these are all potential tourism sites which would first of all take advantage of maybe of the borders, and that would also really help the government aim and get a lot of money. And the government of Uganda is now targeting to attract 2 million local tourists. That is in an effort that is to boost the country's tourism sector. And remember, we can also be tourism ambassadors and local tourists. First of all, by visiting the different facilities that we do have in West Nile sub-region, looking at the different potential tourism sites. We have a number of them. We have a church that is said to be the smallest. It is also still within West Nile sub-region. We have a potential, also other falls. We do have like Miradua, we do have Oluko. All these are potential tourism sites that which, if we took advantage of and visited, that would also be quite well. What about Mountain Wati, where we say the Lugwara's grandfather come from? That is Banyale and Binyale. All these are from, maybe these are potential tourism sites that if at all we mapped and talked about very well, that would also really help attract people all the way from other parts of the country to also really come and see the origin, maybe where the elders are buried in. That is also something we also at the end of the day want to see help us very much. And this move is seen as a strategy that's to diversify the sector's revenue streams and reduce the reliance that's on international tourism, which has been affected and very much hampered by the COVID-19 pandemic. And if you really see, before the COVID-19 time, we did have a lot of tourists also flocking in the country as foreign tourists. But now, because of tourism, most of that has been destabilized, and we are receiving very few tourists, much as it is said that the numbers increasing slowly, but really local tourists also still remain a great challenge. We are not taking advantage of our potential tourism sites, but really I must say, if at all we also really want to relax our brains, we could take advantage of the local tourism facilities. And the government believes that attracting more local tourists also will not only help support the government industry, but also promote, that is what we call cultural exchange and national unity. And in order to achieve this target, the government plans to launch various activities also really, that is to boost also really and aim Ugandans also really, and also aim attract Ugandans at also really to visit also what we call their potential tourism sites. And Tourism State Minister, that's Martin Mugara Bahinduka, made the revelation, that is during a media briefing on Tuesday, April 30th, that is 2024 at Uganda Media Center in Kampala. And that is already where we also want to put that discussion to a close with, as we bounce back with also really maybe more to that. Let's first take this short commercial breather, and when we return back, we shall be able to expound on this topic. But you can still maybe share your opinions with us on maybe the various platforms where you're watching us from. How best can we ensure that we develop our tourism sector? Definitely that is where we expect your questions. For now, let's first have this short commercial breather.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13th, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial breather. We are back with what we call the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile Television each and every Mondays to Fridays, and we are already in for the Thursday edition. And remember, you too still can be part of the show and maybe let us know where you are watching us from and what you feel that we need to do. And remember, as we are already in the month of May, 9th of May, which is the census night, is not actually very far, and so many people are also already being rallied now to so embrace the exercise, because if you are not maybe going to take part of that, then definitely you may also really be able to lag behind in there. That is something I will be letting you know of later on, what the leaders are saying and how exactly people can also embrace the exercise. That would also really be quite well. And remember, before we did go for the break, we are talking about the issue of how Ugandan government is planning to boost, that is the tourism sector. And we also really targeting under this strategy, we are targeting, that is what we call the local tourists. And who are we meaning the local tourists? We are meaning you, the Ugandan, you, the East African person, and then you who is patriotic, because definitely if you are a patriot, then definitely you will be loving your country, and you would also really wish, that is to visit the different tourist potential sites, and this would also already at the end of the day get more monies for the government. And remember, we are looking forward to sustaining our own budgets, and the only way we are going to make that a reality is actually through embracing what the government wants us to do. And one of the things government also really wants us to do is through local tourism, and that will also really at the end of the day attract more potential tourists there. And I really want to call upon each and everybody now to also really embrace the exercise that is forthcoming, which is what we call the National Population Housing Exercise Census, and that is already something that we are talking about right now. And we did see in tourism, because if at all you do not love your country, then definitely you are going to be lacking behind. And really want to see how many people are in the country, and we want to solely compare it to different facilities that are in the country, and we want to see maybe how many people, maybe Ugandans, are visiting what we call our potential tourism sites in there. And Mr. Tom, the State Minister, Mr. Martin Mugara, the State Minister for Tourism, actually made the revelation during on Tuesday. That is during a press briefing that is at Kampala Media Center in Uganda in there, and he was giving an update that is on preparations for the International Museum Day, which is slated to be on May 18th this year. And these celebrations will be taking place in Soroti, where we want to see at least museums established in all places. And remember, we are looking forward also to see to it that at least we establish such potential tourism sites, and that is already one of the property projects that was under the Barifa project, which did not really go well with some people, because if you really see what the developer was saying, he is looking forward to also establishing that is a potential tourism site that is like a zoo, which will also really help attract people. And I believe if at all this was really very, very much implemented, we would also really wish to see more animals. So also those who are yearning to see lions, because at least today we have people who have grown old in Western Sub-region, but they have never seen what we call lions, and this is because they have always been here. And for those who have moved, you could have maybe had the chance to visit what we call the lions and other animals, the giraffes, in the different facilities. But for those who have typically remained here, there's no way that you are going to be seeing a lion, and that would also really be a better development if at all that project also did go on well there. But that didn't go on well, and we are yet following up on that. Maybe at the end of the day, if at all people can also really bow and say, let's now ensure that we develop this, maybe also really that the developer can adjust here and there, that would be quite well and good, because really we want to see development, what we call development, much as we need the forest, because sometimes we are also being told that this also poses risk threats. First of all, the climate, and also if you really compare what is happening with the climate to also really development, then definitely that also really makes people to also sometimes have fears, and that is the reason as to why people may not be able to support such government initiatives, and that's really maybe such private initiatives at the end of the day that are aimed, that is also really attract more monies for the government. And according to Baindika, the theme for this year's celebration shall be Museums Shaping Knowledge, that is for the future, and it is derived, that is from the International Council of Museums international theme, which is Museums for Education and Research, and that's really something that we are yet following up on. And Baindika added that they highlights the importance of museums, education institutions, and also that promote learning, discovery, and cultural understanding. And so that's something we did see the Research Minister for Tourism very, very much talking about there. And now Uganda Tourism Board, the Chief Executive Director Lily Ajarova says they can be done through a vigorous marketing of the sector, which would also really at the end of the day attract more foreign, also more local tourists, and that is something that we all want to see, so that also really Uganda can also really be able to also really boost and also really say that we have a local tourists. And if you really see what is happening in Jinja, by the way, Jinja is one of the areas that is really where you see a lot of local tourism, and over the weekend at least you see people going to Jinja in numbers, and this is also because of maybe their potential tourism sites that have been very well marketed. And I believe if at all we also really marketed our facilities here very, very well and develop them, that would also really help at the end of the day attract more local tourists. Look at tourism, potential tourism. We have River Nile, which also really passes through West Nile sub-region, and most of this is actually where the secondary schools have been going for their geography tours, and this is also really something I believe, if at all, if well marketed, that would also really help attract people from different parts of maybe the country to also really come and see what is happening in West Nile, and that would also really at the end of the day attract more. And that is the reason as to why we are saying you as a viewer, you as a stakeholder, let's ensure that we market our facilities, and let's tell the world that West Nile is capable of also really being a potential tourism destination and a place which all of us can be able to visit, and that would also really at the end of the day attract more local tourists. And however, the government's target of 2 million local tourists may be challenging to achieve, but given the local economic certainty, nevertheless, with the right strategies, initiatives can also really help change the narrative, and that is all what we want to see. We want to see the narrative changed, so that's also really what we are talking about. People not being able to visit what we call our local tourism potential sites can also really change. At the end of the day, we all want to see the facilities attracting more tourists, and I believe that is possible. It is still a possibility that all of us can still attain and do. And in a rejoinder that Kampala Central Member Parliament, Muhammad Sereko, also tasked that is also really people to also really ensure that they be part of that. And moving away from that, now let's see what is happening in Parliament, where Parliament approves that is 578 billion bailout, that is private vaccine factory. Really, that is already something we are seeing on the past morning. And Parliament on Tuesday approved that is a 1.1 trillion supplementary budget, including that is a contentious 578 billion bailout, that is today Biopharma Limited, a private drug and vaccine manufacturing plant that is owned by businessman Matthias Magola. And remember, this businessman also did ask for at least a bailout from government, and now we are seeing a bailout from government. But then the challenge from bailouts is that most of people also think that it is given to people who know who they are, maybe the right people to approach the officers. I really, if that is the case, then this is quite unfortunate, because if you will try to interact with the businessmen, in most cases, if you ask them about the bailouts, they will tell you that not everybody is accessible to these funds here, and that is the reason as to why it is quite unfortunate. And we all want to see at least least each and everybody benefits from that money. And although the money today, boy farmers, was okayed by Parliament's Budget Committee, the House was derived, that is on the matter of following a minority report presented by Kiramu Municipal Legislator, Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, who is also the Shadow Minister for Finance, in the minority report, which was also signed by lawmakers Matthias Impuga, the Nyonde Mkungwe Member of Parliament, and Yusuf Sibambi, the Maokoto South MP. They tried also to recommend, that the trio tried to recommend that it is wrong for government to continue funding a private entity without, that is also really thorough accountability on the shillings 145 billion, which government has injected that into the company since its inauguration in 2021. And remember, this facility, according to government, recently we did see government that it will be able to also have shares on it, and that is already something the legislators are saying, much as we are saying that. What about the money that was put at the initial stages, which has never been recovered, and then we going to supply it more? And that is also sometimes a reason as to why people have negative thoughts about maybe what we call the bailouts, because this is money given to business people, also maybe those who are about to collapse can also stand on their own. Today we have seen so many businesses closing in West Nile. This is also due to different challenges, and really the issue of bailouts has also often been raised by these people, saying that for them, they have not been able to be maybe considered in that money. And that's why we are seeing businesses closing. And today, if I can be able to mention to you some of the prominent businesses that we didn't think that could close, we have seen most of them closing. And this ranges that from bus, also transport services. And we have seen a number of them closing and bowing out of Western Sub-region. And we also do have a number of activities happening. We have hotels that have closed in Western Sub-region. And all this is because of maybe certain reasons that which government has never catered for. And really, bailouts will be very, very much to also maybe help support that struggling business, and at the end of the day, that would also really help people, also maybe those whose businesses are about to collapse, also stand again. And State Minister of Finance, Henry Musasi, noted that the company was doing well until that is also really recently got trapped that into the current challenges of what we are now seeing, also really them actually requiring that is bailout in there. And he further disclosed that government has an arrangement that is to buy shares into the company after doing thorough evaluation. And that's something we also want to see, and we do not want to see taxpayers' money be put into waste like that, and really we want to see the returns. And the only way we are going to be seeing returns is, first of all, maybe the factories foreign exchange improving, and once it improves, that is also one thing that we are going to be seeing it maybe developing. At the end of the day, I really believe that is also really quite well and good for us. And his submission act, that is section of legislators, including among others Mwanga Chivumbi, also the leader of opposition, Joel Senyonyi, who questioned government's technology of execution, and also that is also something that didn't go on well with some of the legislators. And Senyonyi reiterated that, why are we investing that is shillings 578 billion into a sick company? This should also not even be a partisan issue, because voters are going to ask the valuation of the money, and we will not be able to also answer in there. That is only what the leader of opposition parliament, that is Honorable Joel Senyonyi, also really saying in there. And really we want to see, at the end of the day, we also want to see the value for this money government is trying to inject in these different projects, because if you really see these people money that is supposed to be injected there, people want to see the value addition, people want to see the returns. And that is the reason as to why sometimes people may not be able to support these government initiatives, and really that is a reason as to why we all want to see that also really these are addressed. But Deputy Attorney General, that's Jackson Kafuzi, argued that government also really has a memorandum of understanding with their company, among which is agreed, and it was agreed that the government will buy equity without fail. And really, why should we be buying that is shares in a company that has not very much also stood on its own? Are we going to be seeing the company stand? Because something that has not yet stood after quite a long period of time, because we didn't see, this is not the very first time government is going to be injecting money into that facility, but at the end of the day, the returns also really keep lagging behind. Are we not going to be seeing the same company returning back to us for more bailouts? This is the question that maybe should be lingering in your mind as well as mine, but definitely we leave it entirely in the hands of the stakeholders who are responsible, that is to also really oversee the activities of that factory there. But at the end of the day, we want to see the drugs, we want to see also really our health facilities being supported. That is also really through what we call the facilities, and that is also really at the end of the day something that is going to improve on the livelihoods of the citizens. And before adoption of a motion to extend that is a 578 billion day farmer group, Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Anita Among, directed the House before disbursement that there must be an evaluation, and Chairperson of Parliament's committee, Budget Committee, must ensure that this is done that it is done for and on behalf of Parliament, that's solely, and report back to House, and there should be an evaluation of the assets that are existence at the company, and upon evaluation and disbursement of the funds, the security documents of the company, such as the land titles, must be kept, and also the treasury, not also with the owners. That's also something we also want to see at the end of the day, so that all government money is recovered, because once this money is not recovered, then definitely we may also see people also laughing behind, and that's also something we also want to follow at the end of the day, that also we also want to see people also really benefiting very much from that. Moving on from that, let's for now see what is happening right on Western Sub-Region, and that is in relation to the forthcoming national population and housing exercise. And I really want to remind you that also when the time comes, because we are now talking about the national population census, I do understand those who were recruited are now undergoing training, and very soon they will be able to solely be sent to their various areas of work. And every 10 years, remember, government of Uganda holds what we call the national population and housing census, and also the last one was carried that in 2014, and the national exercise has come again, and that is with the training of enumerators, supervisors, among others, that is at country large. And that's also something we are saying, let people solely see to it that they get part of that. And the census figures that they play a critical role in guiding planning, also policy formulation, and that program implementation, as well as monitoring development progresses in line with what they call the national goals and objectives. And that is the reason as to why we want to see everybody also take advantage of that. And the census exercise will take place that's on May 9th, and will use what we call digital technology. And remember, this year, just like maybe unlike the other previous exercise, this is going to be online, where the people are going to be coming to your homes with gadgets, for instance the tablets, and they will be asking you for your details. And remember, government of Uganda is only going to be counting those who have moved out of the country. We are going to also be seeing that the soldiers are counted, but the good thing about this category is that they're going to be counted under special groups, and this is where also we want to see to that everybody is catered for and everybody is looked out into this budget. We do not want to see anybody left out, because if at all we are going to be seeing maybe people not be able to take part in this exercise, these are the people who are going to be taking advantage of those other people's resources, to whom maybe government may be allocating them funds. Because if you are not taking advantage of what we call the national population and housing census, then trust me, in the next 10 years you are going to be utilizing maybe those funds that government had allocated for other people, because government is not going to know who you are. Definitely that is the reason as to why we must also ensure that we are part of this. And for those who have the negative attitude, let's put the negative attitudes aside. There's nothing that government will do by also recounting our numbers. There's nothing wrong government can do by identifying our numbers, and this is also really something that where some people have been having negative thoughts, because we do have some people who are having still the traditional minds and the negative backward minds, and that is also something I must say is very barbaric, and we must condemn, because if at all we are going to be counted, it is for the good cause of us in the next 10 years, because government last held this exercise in 2014, where our population was said to be increasing, and I believe with this one year, our population is going to be more, with the fact that we do have, that is a new people coming in as refugees, that is from Democratic Republic of Congo, others coming from South Sudan, others as well coming, that is all the way from Sudan. That is also really where people used to call North Sudan. This is the country where we have seen people also really recently flocking in the country, and today they're in different parts of the country also really residing as refugees. And that is really something that we also really want to caution and see to that also really let them ensure that they are counted, so that also really, if at all they're going to be here for the next 10 years, because we do not know when they will be going back, because really war is sometimes something that we do not pray for, but it is just a disaster that also befalls, and that's only once it happens, definitely we also really have to ensure that we support the people who are coming in our country, because at one time I remember our grandparents, our elders, our aunties used to tell us stories of how difficult life was in exile, and I believe the same is what these people are going through, and that's the reason as to why we must ensure them, and that is only a reason as to why government of Uganda is going to be counting the refugees and what we call the moving population. And that is also something I want to say, let them also really be actively engaged in that, so that also really, if at all they are going to be here for the next 10 years, government can also really still budget for them and also include them in our budgets, because if at all they're not going to be part of our budget, then definitely they are going to also really be lagging behind there. And that's also something at the end of the day which will not be quite well for us to be witnessing, and I want to call upon now each and everybody to also ensure that they take part in that, and that's already something at the end of the day would be very, very well. According to UBOS, which is the body that is going to be undertaking the counting exercise, the country's current population is estimated that is at 45.5 million, with a growth rate that's at 30.4%. That means that our population each and every day is increasing, and I believe with the forthcoming national population and census exercise, our numbers are going to be going up. I don't know what you think about, but really this is also really where we need to talk about, because today our population is increasing. That is where we are saying people are now encroaching on what we used to call the natural forest. This is also really a reason as to why people are encroaching on them, because people want to settle on these facilities, and people are also really entering as far as what we call the wetlands, which is really against the laws. This is also really simply to build, to also really establish their households, so that also really with the increasing population they can also really maybe buy land. And this is also really a reason as to why we want to say let people also really ensure that they take part in the upcoming exercise, so that also government identifies our population, and government can also really ensure that they draw proper means also to what we also need to talk about. And during the opening of 9 days training of enumerators of Central and Tata Division, that's Nebi Municipality, that was yesterday morning. Hela, that's Nebi Primary School. Honorable Achibo Agnes, that is the Nebi District Woman in Parliament, thank the management, that is also really, and staff of UBOS for the good work they have done in ensuring that the census also really are always a success in Uganda. And Honorable Achibu says the aim of counting are very crucial, so that also the government of Uganda can plan better, because it is also really through the people's numbers that government can also really allocate the different resources. And meanwhile, Honorable Jacqueline Opar, the chairperson LC3, that is of the Third Division, also made it clear that the nationwide exercise will begin that's on the night of 9th May, and also really everybody must also really ensure that they are part, and the following day the exercise will be able to be commencing and will run for a period of at least 10 days. And she further expressed gratitude towards the development partners like the United Nations Fund for Population Activities, which is abbreviated as the UNFPA, and World Bank, that also really has supported the government of Uganda in implementing, that is the statistical activities, and also involved, that is also really involved for their involvement, that is in the forthcoming national 2024 census exercise. And that's still something we also really want to see each and everybody being part of. And the national population and housing census will begin, that's the 6th also exercise that will be conducted, since this will be the 6th time, by the way, the Ugandan government is going to be conducting the exercise after Uganda acquired independence. And the last also time Uganda held this exercise was in that 2014, and that's something we also want to remind you of. And now let's also see what is happening in elsewhere. We do understand also that many leaders are now calling upon people to also really see to that they also really rally themselves behind. And yesterday we did see Honorable Grace Kuching Freedom, the president's advisor, also really calling upon people now to also really embrace the exercise. And remember, she has been very much vivid and always encouraging people to also really embrace the exercise. And she did call upon all the stakeholders, including the clergy and the entire citizens, to also really ensure that they are part of this exercise. And remember, for us to also really identify our population, definitely we are going to be required to also really have what we also know, because our population, once we do not know it, and then definitely we are going to be lagging behind, which would be very much bad, because the government, we are going to be leaving the government to appropriate resources basing on gesture, not also the real work, which will also come with its own shortages. Because if you really see the shortages at the medical facilities, for instance, in terms of drugs, and then in schools, where we also really see the money is not being enough, it is actually as a result of that is not people being counted, because at the end of the day, they will also really see the government allocates resources that just on guesswork, not on what is on the ground. And that is also now a reason for us to avoid all those things. We need to ensure that we are part of that, and then definitely that would also be quite well for us to also really see to that also really we also see what is happening out there. That will also see something that will also really be able to also really maybe attract more people to also really ensure that they are taking advantage of that. And I really want to call upon now each and everybody to also really see to that also really they are part of that. And now let's move on. Let's see what is happening elsewhere as we get closer to the end of the first hour. Minister, that is also really Otafiri, has called as lashed police, that is for brutalizing and also torturing Uganda. And that is something we are seeing on the path this morning, because really also to beat somebody, I must say, is against their rights, it's against the law, and definitely that is also something we do not want to see. And the entire beating is also really something that we say is very bad. Because most of the times you realize that police also is taking advantage instead of also really controlling what is happening around. You see them very much also trying also to do the negative, and that is also what we call the beating, which also Minister Otafiri has also raised concern about. And definitely that's also something that we also want to see end in Uganda, because the issue of people being beaten recently during electoral also really reform engagement that is at Hunter's Nest, organized by Wesisnet, this issue actually came out very much clearly that sometimes police is also really involved, that is also really in what we call a beating of the people, which is also really something which is against the law. But police also really did come out clear to respond that this is what isn't allowed, this is what the law has permitted them to do. So what they are doing is in line with what the law wants. They are there to also really fulfill and also really observe what the laws of Uganda are saying. And for them also what they said is for them to avoid maybe what we call about the beating, there's a need for the legislators whom we elect to also really ensure that they do not also really take advantage of the laws. Let them also ensure that the laws also favor what we call the citizens, and that is already at the end of the day how we are going to be seeing an end, that is to what we call the beatings. And Ugandan Internal Affairs Minister, that's Major General Kaindo Tafire, has lashed out police who have been made it a culture to beat Ugandans during their operation, saying it is criminal and those caught in the act shall be punished in there. And remember, during also demonstrations, when we see police coming, in most cases what we see is they beat out people and they also really tear gas people, which is really against the law. And for them also to avoid that, then there's need what we call also really the laws to be amended in there, so that also really the powers of police can be trimmed, because we do understand the entire role and duties of the police is to maintain law and order, which sometimes is really done in the contrary way, where we see the police also in terms of maintaining the law, you see them also torturing the citizens, which is really against the laws, because human rights are against what we call torture. And the Tafire says no one has the mandate that is to beat a Ugandan, not even criminals. And the minister was on April 30th addressing the residents that in the villages of Bulika in Katogo in Wakiso district and Waluga in also what we call Nama sub-county Mukono district, where he was responding to crimes of numerous murders. And more today we are seeing all this happening. And what we also saw in Central Division recently is that we did see a number of these boys who were arrested as suspected criminals are being beaten by the mob, that is in mob action. We did see also some of them being murdered and their properties also being burnt in there, which is really against their rights, and also really the laws don't permit that. And this is also not police alone, because the issues of also beating people, sometimes the masses have also taken it upon their hands also to mistreat and also administer justice, which is really something we say is wrong, because there's no justice administered by mob. It is rather justice also administered, that is art, that is also the courts of law, where we are saying there's nothing like mob justice, but rather the word is mob action, because what people are doing is mob action. But in most cases people say it is mob justice, because we are saying that is not right, because justice can only be administered in the courts of law. And Uganda's Internal Affairs Minister, Mr. Major General Kaindo Tafire, has lashed out these people, saying there's nothing that really we also need to ensure that Mr. Tafire ordered the RPC to ensure that all officers involved in the incident are disciplined, and also asked him to also back the police post also with other members. Also, he noted that the Waluga village is distant and needs more officers to offer expected police services, because sometimes we see police taking long to also really respond to the queries of also the people, because once we are seeing people being beaten, in most cases, there are those good, maybe who I want to call those people with good hearts, good Samaritans, who would wish to rescue the lives of these people by calling police the emergency numbers. But in most cases, what we see is that the police sometimes takes very longer to respond, which is really very, very wrong, and that also at the end of the day leads to the death of the suspects. And the regional police commander for Kampala Metropolitan East, that is Mr. Job Wabire, says the arrests were made based on social media video clips that we are circulating, where we did see at least 30 people being arrested, including local leaders of the 4 villages and some 2 school children, over what we did see in happening in there. That's something we want to see end, because at the end of the day, if that is not the case, then we are going to be seeing more people being arrested, and at the end of the day, that will be quite bad. Because even right in Arua, right in different places, people see police as enemies, and once a police officer and the UPDF, more so the military officers, enter a place, we see people running away, because instead of coming closer, at the end of the day, this is already something I must say is going to affect operations of police, because if police maintains what we call the far-fetched relationship with the members of the public, that also keeps the distance of these people coming to give out information to police, which may also help police in their activities, also very much affected in that. And what we are saying is that let police ensure that the issues of beating the citizens is really kept out, and it is kicked out and avoided, because this is something that has been able to also really make the members of the public away from also really working with the police, because we want to see us people as in policing, everybody is a stakeholder. That's also really why we are saying let police work with what we call the members of the public, and who are stakeholders in what we want to achieve. That is an end to crime. At the end of the day, that would also really help end what we call criminality in the districts and also various places across the country. And really that does bring us to the end of the first hour, and we are going to be running for a short commercial breather, and when we come back, we still have lots more prepared for you on the show. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial breather. We are back into our second hour of the show, and we're already 4 minutes after 8 o'clock. And in case you are just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard. This is the show that definitely will have an impact on you as an individual. That is solely in terms of letting you know what is happening in and around your world, and that's sort of the reason as to why you must be part of the show. That is each and every Mondays to Fridays, right from the hour of that is 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock, and that's the reason as to why you will be able to sort of make informed decisions, because already you are going to be sort of knowing what is happening. That is in your area, and that's already in the different parts across the world. And now let's move away from that. Let's see what is happening elsewhere, where there's shortage of psychiatrists, and which has also really worried the World Health Organization. That's something that we are seeing on the past morning. And remember, Uganda has a shortage that is also really of what we call the psychiatrists. And coupled with the issues of mental illnesses, where most people are running mad, where they're going to be going to, that is definitely something I do not know. But the World Health Organization is concerned about the high number of mental illnesses that's in Uganda, amidst also what we call the shortage of trained psychiatrists. And that's something that we are seeing on the this morning. And Dr. Jonas Teregen, World Health Organization Country Representative, said about 14 million Ugandans suffer from mental illness, that is related cases, with one specialist, that's for 1 million also people, and the majority of which are in urban areas. And today you see many people are running mad, but definitely once we take them what we call the Budabika, definitely there's also a shortage of medical personnel there, and that's also something I want to say. If at all government of Uganda is to train more of this, that will be quite well, because today we are seeing many people running mad for different reasons. Because if you move in the facilities there, definitely they will be able to tell you that many people are not running mad as we think, and maybe as what we expect. And if you really see what is happening there, we are being told that not only drug abuse, which has been attributed as the main cause of mental illness, that is not the case, but today we are being told so many issues, and there are so many contributing factors to the rising mental illnesses cases, among which is the issue of depression. And if you are really depressed, you're going to be having thoughts, and that would also at the end of the day lead you into having mental illnesses. And that's the reason as to why we always say you need to have people whom you can confide in case of any challenge. And that's the reason as to why if you see somebody is suffering out there, let's ensure that we rush out to them. Let's support them, because your loved one out there could be going through what we call mental illness, what we call depression, but you have not given them proper attention. You are blaming them. You are thinking that they are smoking maybe opium or drinking alcohol, which would not be the case. And in a case they would also be doing that, that would also be a clear indication that they are suffering from mental illness. They could be doing those things because they are already mentally depressed, and that is the reason as to why let's always ensure that we have a distance maybe that we maintain with our loved ones. Let's ensure it is not very far, it is close, that at least once in a while that you check on your loved ones. And that also we also check on them, not only to see that they are doing well. What about those who are doing bad? It's also the high time that we start getting back to them, so that's only when we want to see them maybe live well. That is the only solution at the end of the day, which I believe would also very, very much help. Because if you really see what is happening at the medical facilities today, the psychiatrists are said to be very few, where there is a ratio about at least 1 to 114 million, which is also really very much big. Because if you really move to the facility, you realize that the medical facilities still have a gap. That is also really in what we call the staffing gaps. That's in the psychiatrists, and this is also something that we also want to ensure that we talk about, so that already people are not also really left out. Because if people are left out, then definitely that will be quite unfortunate, and we will see many people running mad, which at the end of the day cannot make us proud. Because if we are going to have maybe a society of many people, then that is a society that's going to be less productive, because a person who is mentally ill is not going to be doing a lot of work. And that's the reason as to why we need to ensure that we talk to our young ones, for instance, about the issue of drug abuse, because drug abuse has been the main contributor, that is, to mental illness among people, most of the young ones in the urban centers. Because really, if you see what is happening among what we see in the Central Division, and this is why do I always say Central Division? I give example of Central Division because this is where I live in, and this is also where I see most of these things. It's not it may be a movie that I'm talking about. This is reality, because if you move, you'll be able to see a lot of things happening which are not really quite well, and that is the reason as to why we need to ensure as parents, at least our gap also maybe the distance of talking to children is not very far, because a child who is about 14 years is still abusing the drugs, and definitely that is something I must say has been very, very much causing that is mental illness among the young people in the Central Division. And this is already something that is happening in the other urban areas, and we are saying people need to ensure that at least they talk that their children, and the government also has the mandate that is to train more mental illness personnel, and I believe that is also really something that at the end of the day would help. That is also really help the people run, maybe who are intending to run mad, also be avoided there. And Dr. Jonas has called upon for an increase that is in the number of mental health personnel that is serving in the rural communities, and that's something that we also want to see. Much as we are talking about the urban centers, where the majority of people are the ones maybe planning to run mad, what about those in the rural areas? That is something that we also need to look forward to, because at the end of the day, that is something we all want to see end. And he made the remarks during the launch of the mental health campaign led by, that is, Her Royal Highness the Nabagereka, or the Queen of Buganda Kingdom, that is also the Sylvia Najinda Lusota there. The campaign is running under the theme that is Shine in Light, Illuminating Mental Health, and that is something also we are seeing on the past morning. And the campaign's aims to raise awareness and foster dialogue and generate sustainable and financial support that's to address issues of mental health among the members of the country. And Her Royal Highness the Nabagereka, who is the Queen of Uganda, that is Sylvia Najinda Lusota, is expected to hold a fundraising drive that is on May 9th at Kampala Serena Hotel, and that is something we are also going to follow up on. And we want to see also these also cases of mental illness among the youth, women and children across the country is also really dropped down there, and that's something we also want to see. And the campaign, remember, will also really help reduce stigma and increase that is community involvement in supporting those struggling with mental health cases. And we also want to see also these factors being addressed, because sometimes people are being stigmatized, and you see somebody is abusing drugs, we tend very much to run away from them. We say, look at that man, so and so is a drug abuser, he's going to run mad, And I want to associate myself with them that is also really where we are going wrong. And that is something, at the end of the day, I want to say people need to avoid. Let's ensure that we also are not very far from this people that we all want to see help. Because if we're not going to help them, then definitely who is going to help them? And that's the reason as to why I'm saying let's ensure that our distance with those whom we claim are running mad is not very far-fetched. And the campaign also will help that. And Dr. Jonas said globally, World Health Organization predicts that about 970 million people will be suffering from mental illness cases, and that's statistics for every year in there. And Her Royal Highness, the Navigator of Buganda, Sylvia Najin Luswata, is expecting that to all the fundraising drive, and all this is also to avoid what we call the stigma in there. The Navigator of Buganda asked the community that is to strive to create that society where no one suffers in silence, and she also applauded I&M Bank and Uganda Communications Commission for supporting the event, and that's something we also want to see all the stakeholders joining hands. We not only want to see it end with those two, we want to see more of those other organizations also coming up to support, maybe so that we live in a society where nobody is quietly suffering that's from mental illness. And I want to say that is possible. It is the reality. It's not a movie. It's not a dream, but we can still all achieve a society where nobody is suffering silently in what we call also really mental illness. And that's something also I want to call upon now each and everybody to also really ensure that they talk about, other than also really suffering silently in the hands of also really those cases there. And I want to call upon now each and everybody to ensure that they are part of that. I'm moving away from that now. Let's see what is happening. There's an outbreak of cholera where one person in Chotera is suspected to be dead as a result of that, and 4 other people have been left hospitalized. And I want to say health authorities in Chotera district, which is just neighboring Masaka, are in panic after a cholera outbreak hit the densely populated Kasendro landing site, leaving at least 1 person dead and 4 others hospitalized. That's in critical condition. And cholera is an acute intestinal infection caused by contaminated food and drinking water, which can also cause diarrhea. That is severe, also dehydration and death if treatment is not promptly given, according to World Health Organization. And that's something also we must also ensure we take care of ourselves. And this is also really something that we all now have to ensure that we do not eat that food which is contaminated. We also have to wash the food we buy from the market. This is the mothers, and whereas we are going to the markets, let's ensure what we are eating is clean. First of all, the vegetables we are going to buy from the markets, once we bring them home, before putting them on fire, let's first wash them, so that also the issue of this disease is well maintained. And then our hygiene, those who are not having toilets, let's ensure that we dig the toilets, so that also our waste is disposed well. And this is also where the flies that could be carrying the germs could be flying to also cause for us problems there. And Joseph Girimani, the Chotara District Surveillance Focal Person, said everything is being done that's to contain the spread of the disease, and that's also something we are following up on. And really, Chotara District is also really the chairperson Patrick, that's Kintuki Sukro, also say the concentration of many people at the landing site is of with poor hygiene increases that the risk of the cholera, and that's something we all want to say. Let's ensure that we avoid, because if we're talking about cholera, then definitely it calls for hygiene improvement. If your hygiene is poor, then definitely you are going to be the ones affected. And if you are not maybe also serious with the disease, it may lead to death, and you may also leave the loved ones behind there. And Kasendro landing site has a population that's about 15,000 people, and about the majority of which of whom are that's engaged, that's in fishing as their main economic activity, and that's something we also want to see. And according to scientists, if left untreated, cholera can kill up to 50% of those infected, but treatment reduces that is the risk of also the people dying from the disease there to 1%. And we want to see, and maybe everybody in that area must also now ensure that they take care of themselves, and let them ensure that their hygiene is well improved and well maintained. And the area has been exposed to several pandemics, like the Marburg, which interrupted these livelihoods, and due to its also geographical location, that's on the neighbor Uganda-Tanzania common border, there are these fires that the disease has spread to Tanzania, since on daily interactions, many people come in, that's from the other parts of the country there, and that's the reason as to why the disease could be maybe spreading in there. And that's something we all want to see at the end of the day be addressed there. And moving on from that, now let's see other stories happening here, still related to health. Uganda, America partner in new HIV vaccine study. That's also another story that we are seeing on the past this morning. And Ugandan scientists are partnered with America's Walter Reed Army Institute, that is of research abbreviated as WRAIR to test that's the new HIV vaccine, the leaders revealed on Tuesday. And Dr. Famsi Vaisiredi, the country director that's of WRAIR Uganda, revealed to journalists in Kampala yesterday that the rapid study has already started, and they are looking forward to also developing that drug in there. And that's something at the end of the day we want to see also be addressed. And we want to see HIV be kicked out of the world. But the world also, through the Sustainable Development Goals, we did see also really as part of the Millennium Development Goals, that is to also end HIV by 2030. And if you see what is happening, that is to what today we have not yet seen the reduction, much as we have also really seen that's a drop, that's infection rates also reducing. And we are saying this is a reality. Those who are infected, let's ensure that we do not spread the disease. And those who have already contracted the disease, let's ensure that we live on the drugs. There's also the end of the life, and that's also something World Health Organization is preaching. And the issue of stigma is only one that needs to be kicked and avoided, because sometimes people are born with the disease, but the way community stigmatizes them is really quite unfortunate and makes people to really feel out of place. And that is the reason as to why we are saying this drug needs to be developed very fast. So that's why we eradicate the disease. By 2030, really, we are still some 6 years, because we are in 2024, and must say now we are about 4 to 5.5 years. That is to the year, that is 2030, because that is also really the plan where government and the world also intended to end the disease by 2030 among the Millennium Development Goals. And the study coordinators have not provided what we call the details about the number of participants in the study, but however, they have selected and now have long studies also likely to last. And the information is coming about 2 weeks after scientists also the Uganda Virus Research Institute say they started designing a new HIV vaccine. And both interventions come that's about 4 months after the disclosure that's the clinical trials, that is for HIV prevention vaccine, which scientists at the URVI and Medical also Research Council we're also really spearheading in there. And we want to call upon each and everybody now to ensure at least once this drug is come out, let it also really be available, let it be cheap, also for everybody to also really maybe see that also really we benefit from it. And that is also at the end of the day something we are going to benefit from that. And the trials we are discontinued because an independent monitoring also really a committee found the vaccine also remains little or no chance of preventing HIV acquisition in there. The vaccine was not developed in Uganda, but was tested in Uganda, Tanzania, and South Africa, which some of the countries also with the highest disease burden have also issued concern about. And that's something also we want to see at the end of the day put aside. And really, I want to say it is still possible. That is a reality that at the end of the day we can still achieve a world that is without HIV. And that is also the plan, that is to end HIV by 2030. And really, that is something also we want to see to that also really we also see to it that also we end that. And remember what we also have been seeing, America is still talking about America. They have also said they are not going to be cutting, that is the budget also really, that is to health. And that's something that many people have been also being able to raise their concern about. And recently we did see also really a travel ban, that is for a number of our legislators, including that's the Speaker of Parliament and two other ex-ministers of what we did see happening in Karamoja. And now what is the US government saying? We will not cut funding health sector. That is what the US envoy is saying, and that's good news. And really, because most of our budgets has been funded, but it's by these governments, and that's also something we are yet following up on. And we hope at the end of the day that is also really a reality, because with the threats that have been coming, so many people have been raising concern, and many people have been raising fears that also really we may not be able to sustain our budgets. And that is the reason as to why we want to see to that also really we have now the pride and we have the courage and also the strength that the budget cuts is not going to be happening as many people had expected. Because at one time we did see also the government saying they're not going to be donating the HIV drugs, what we call the ARVs, and which really did not go well. But we are saying also now the US envoy has confirmed that they are not going to be cutting funding. That is also the health sector, which is still grappling with a number of challenges, and that is quite a good news. And we must also really cherish and see to that also really our budgets and those maybe when this money comes, we rightly use it, and also see to that our medical facility is very, very much developed. Because if you see our medical health, maybe our health institutions, definitely sometimes some of them are still grappling with challenges of inadequate infrastructure, maybe inadequate medical facilities, and all this can be addressed now through this confirmation. And I believe this money, once it comes, we are going to be seeing the benefit, and the benefit of which is for us to see. We also really see to that also we receive the necessary medical facilities, and officials at the United States Embassy in Kampala have said their government would also continue to support Uganda's health sector, even if as they prepare to also the country to graduate from relying on donations. Also, that is something also we are seeing. And remember, most of our budgets have been very, very much funded through donations, and that is also what the U.S. government is saying. They are not going to also cut budget fundings there. This is coming amid recent reports that the U.S. government and other development partners were planning to cut off funding to Uganda because of the Uganda's stand that is on the Anti-Homosexuality Act, that's of 2023, where it also came with donor fatigue. And Mr. William W. Pope, the U.S. ambassador that is also to Uganda, told journalists in Kampala yesterday that they are monitoring the sustainability of their support, that is to Uganda and other countries, and that's something also we are yet following up on, and specifically on the fears that U.S. would cut funding for the HIV and malaria fight, some of the diseases stopping public health concerns in the country. The officials at the embassy say they won't be affected, and meaning they will be able to really continue funding. That is the two entities that we are talking about. And United States Agency for also International Development, abbreviated as you said, Mission Director in Uganda, Mr. Daniel Ndutie, said there would also be no interruptions in funding for malaria, a disease that kills around 10 million Ugandans annually. And she said funding to Uganda has rather also been increased, that is in the past years, and that's something we all want to see and want to cherish, and we want to see this continuing, because if at all that is not what we are seeing, at the end of the day that would be quite bad for us to continue witnessing. And Mr. Ndiranyu said the country should be consistent in employing interventions because they have proven to work, that is in reducing the burden of the disease. In April this year, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, that is also really Mr. Thomas Tayeba, said the country should move away from donor dependence, and also he asked the State Minister for Health, that is Dr. Jennifer Acheng, also to present a strategy that is for also eradicating malaria to the Parliament. And that's something also we want to see, because malaria continues to claim a number of lives, and they are said to be around 1.4 million Ugandans living also really with the other disease, what we call HIV, which is still killing many people. And according to Uganda government, the numbers also really could be increasing. And regarding their support, that's to fight against HIV, the disease that kills around 17,000 people annually, that's in Uganda. Mr. Pope said, while we did a careful examination of our programming following the passage of the Anti-Homosexuality Act, we proceeded our country also operating plan, and we have continued to fund all our activities. And that's something maybe could be a good news, that is to somebody out there, and that's something at the end of the day we want to see, because over the past 5 years, the PEPFAR funding to Uganda has consistently been over, that is $400 million US, and it has also varied a bit over the 5 years, but consistently over the years, that money still continues to come, and we all want to see that money continuing to also come, and that is something at the end of the day will be quite good. And as we continue with the show, remember, you also viewer, maybe you can share your opinions on what we are discussing on the show as well by sharing on our various comment sections. And now let's see what is happening elsewhere. Leaders worried over food cut suppliers, floods, cut off roads, that is Nakapiripirit. And that's also another story that we are seeing on the past this morning. I don't know what you think about it, but you still can share your opinions and share your ideas on how best we can support those who have been cut. That is also really through that rain there. And because if we see heavy rains, definitely I must say this also really cut off that is transport, and really once floods also happen, definitely movement also becomes difficult, and once movement becomes difficult, it may also lead to hunger in there. That's also the reason as to why we want to see people of Nakapiripirit being helped there after the road has been cut, that is by the rains. And local leaders from both Amudat and Nabiratuk districts have expressed fear of a possible also hike in price of food after flash floods on Tuesday evening cut off the Chepsunya bridge along that Muyembe Nakapiripirit road, which is the main supply route for the goods in there. And that's something we did see maybe the people, maybe the leaders of that area also really very much raising concern of. And in a statement, that's also Uganda National Roads Authority appealed to locals to use the alternative route also really, that's of Mbale Soroti Moroto, and then connect the districts of Nabiratuk, and that's Amudat, and after the flash floods washed away parts of the Muyembe Nakapiripirit road. And that's something also we want to see, because recently coupled with the issues of the heavy rains, and remember information coming from that is the Uganda Meteorological Authority also indicates that we are going to be witnessing more rains often. And really this is something that we have not yet seen, except today in Arua, there we have some bit of rains. I don't know how it happened in the parts of the region, but definitely we are expecting rains. And this is also coupled with the issues of that is the increasing water levels, and where we are going to be seeing flooding of many people. And that is also really a reason as to why those who are living around also the water bodies, definitely you need to also start preparing for the danger that is also really ahead of you, which we say you must also be prepared for, so that also when it hits, you are also not taken unawares. Because if you're taken unawares, definitely that will be very bad. At the end of the day, you may also lose your lives in there. And we are saying, we are also calling upon those who live more so around the showers of these water bodies to be very, very much vigilant and also be prepared in case this water also, these floods hit. Definitely they can also escape with their loved ones. So that also maybe properties can be destroyed, but no lives should be destroyed. And other diversion directed by the UNRWA as safe Nakapiripit also really are Nakapiripit to Amudat also connecting to Karita via Chepsunya to Mbale and Nakapiripit Moroto Soroti via Mbale Road India. These are alternatives these people have been urged to use so that solely food also supply can continue. And according to UNRWA, a contractor is actively working that's to widen the water pass and also install culverts for improved accessibility, and that's solely something that we also really want to talk about. If you really see what is happening in there, you will realize that also because of the issues of water maybe running back, definitely that is also really affecting now. Let's look away, maybe we're moving away from that. Let's see what is happening as we run away from time, as we are also being taken up of time. We are also seeing winners in governments, that is 1.1 trillion supplementary budget revealed. This is also something we are seeing on the past morning. And 2 months to the next financial year, Parliament on April 30th passed, that is a shillings 1.1 trillion supplementary expenditure. That is schedule number 2 for financial year 2023/2024, where over 70% of it will be spent that's on recurrent expenditures, with the rest allocated that's for national development. And that's something that we are seeing on the past morning. And the key funding priorities in the supplementary budget include that's 19 billion shillings, that's also classified expenditures, that is to State House, and also 3 billion for to facilitate the annual matters day on shillings 13.6 billion that's for Kampala City Authority, as case here, that's also to cater for wage shortfalls of the city and cleaning cars or whatever, while 9 billion was approved, that is also to compensate Uganda police property affected by the Kampala flyover project in there. And what we did see when police was also affected during the construction of the flyover there, we did see also really the flyover project also really going, that's to part of a police project in there, that's in Zambia, and that's only where the money could be going for them. And out of the heated debate, Parliament also okay, that's the contentious shillings 578 billion government bailout. That is today, which we did talk about earlier on. And total of that is 6 shillings, 726 million will also be shared by 3 health facilities, that's including Hoima Regional Referral Hospital, which takes that is shillings 116 million, Jinja Referral Hospital, that is with about 31 million, and also shillings 580 million approved that's to facilitate the pending activities that is in the transition of Kayunga General Hospital into a regional referral hospital. And all these are really also really going to support that is the health sector. And these are the poor have been revealed, and now this is also where the supplementary budget money is going to also really fund them, and at least that is shillings 43 billion will also go into various local governments to enable them meet that is the contractual obligations, while shillings 12 billion was also already approved to facilitate that's farm income enhancement and forest conservation under the Ministry of Water and Environment. And this is something we are yet going to be following up on. And additional shillings 532 million was allocated that's the Ministry of Lands, and among others that's for payment of outstanding compensation obligations under ranches also restructuring programs. Under supplementary budgets are shilling 9 billion, that is to Ministry of Agriculture for that's Agriculture Cluster Development, which is abbreviated as the ACDP. Shilling 37 billion, that's to Ministry of Finance, purposely that's for the implementation of the outstanding competitiveness and enterprise development project, that is also abbreviated as the CEDP activities. And the SHAM, that's shillings 9 billion will go that's to Office of the Prime Minister to facilitate the pending activities under the development response, that's the displacement impact project, that's Dr. Deep, which is also still facing another challenge, that's in Western Sub-region, where most of the local governments are still also really where the farmers who engaged in that project that is implemented by Dr. Deep are still raising concerns, where recently in Terego district we did see a number of them also storming the offices demanding for answers from the cow. And really this is also something we say we want to see all these projects being implemented very well. Although the House Budget Committee recommended Parliament's approval that's of the supplementary budget without changes, 3 members of the same House, that's including Ibrahim Semuchunganda, who is the Kiramu Municipality Member of Parliament, Matthias Impuga, who is the Nyangono Mkungwe Member of Parliament, and Yusuf Sivambi, who is of Maokoto South, came up with a minority report against the allocation of that is shillings 578 billion. That's today group, and which they have also already talked about in that. That's something we did talk about earlier on in our discussion. In their report, the trio urged that if another state supplementary budget is requested, it will be also bringing that's the shillings to 803 billion, a growth that's for the 6% from the initial budget of that is 422 billion, which was allocated to State House during the budgeting process that is in the May 2023. And that's something also we also want to see maybe not being able to be done there. That also maybe money can also be put into the productive ventures. And referring to the Bio Group 578 billion request, that 3 legislators responded that Magola, the Parliament Budget Committee last year also extended money money to this facility, which now they're also going to extend again, which has not gone well with them. And however, after a long debate, the allocations to the State House and Pharma Company Limited, we are done without changes approved by the Parliament, and that's something we also did see happening in there. And I don't know what you think about the supplementary budgets, and you also maybe what do you feel that money needed to go to? And this is a question also you as a viewer cast say your opinions, because which other maybe other sectors did you feel that needs to be also given this money here? Because we have told you about State House, we have also told you about Pharma Company Limited. We also need some of the money going to some of the health facilities, which among others includes also Ginger Hospital, which they also received some money in there. And that does bring us to the end of the discussions as we head in for another short commercial break. And when we return back, as usual, we shall be giving you other stories and what is happening in the world of sports. And remember, yesterday we did see sometimes Uganda Premier League going on. That is a number where some people were also really shocked in there for the first time, because this is a test match which we did see going on successfully in there. And I will be able to tell you maybe how the games did go on. But before that, let's first have this short commercial breather and we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial breather, and we are here to continue with the show. And you are most welcome back into the short commercial break, from the short commercial break, and looking at some of the topics that we are still maybe preparing for you on the show as well. And I must remind you, so many issues happened yesterday and today. So many things will also still be going on. And yesterday I did talk to you about the games, and I will be reminding you of those in the later hour of the show. And remember, as we are continuing with the show, our final destination remains, that is 9 o'clock. And after 9 o'clock, that is when the news bulletin in Lubora team will be coming through. But before we get to give you that, we still have lots more on the show prepared for you. And if I can be able to briefly remind you of some of the stories, maybe let's first see what is happening in Western Sub-Region. That is where a project has been launched. That's in West Nile and actually Sub-Regions. And I must remind you that we did see this happening, where in a bid to enhance that is access to and utilization of information and services related to sexual and gender-based reproductive health, including that is in the regions of West Nile and actually Sub-Region, the SAY project has been launched, and that's something we also want to see it may be going on. And the launch took place at Taragan Hotel in Ajuman district in a colorful ceremony that included, that is the official launch of the project, a signing that is also commitment board and speeches that's from stakeholder representatives, with the chief guest being the ambassador of Denmark to Uganda, Ambassador Sain Winding Al-Jabag, and the chief guest of the function was Minister for Disaster and Preparedness, that is and Refugees, Honorable Engineer Hilary Onek. And that's something we did see also happening in there. Maridio Univa, the Moyo district, also really youth councillor appealed to stakeholders and to the ambassador to be ambassadors of the SAY empowerment and also the rights program, so as to help, that is also the refugees and the young people in West Nile and actually Sub-Region. That is something also at the end of the day we want to see it being a success. And Anyama Ben, the LC5 chairman of Ajuman district, has urged the youth, also and children and all stakeholders to support the ownership of the programs, so that also really it can achieve a successful outcome that will have the impact that's on the communities. And Geoffrey Osman, Osman Ocheng, the resident district commissioners for Lamo district, also the extended appreciation, that's for the United Nations Population Fund, and Danish also the International Development Agency for their generous funding support and the commitment also to health and well-being of the young people in Uganda. That's something also we want to see it being also addressed there. And Ambassador Sain Winding Al-Jabang, the ambassador of Denmark to Uganda, also expressed concerns about the stagnating progress towards the reduction of teenage pregnancy, which stand at 70% in an increase that's of 7% in new HIV infections. That's already in the girl child, urging the stakeholders to prioritize sensitization of sexual reproductive health rights among also the young people in the country. And today we are saying also the issues of reproductive health are still lags very, very much behind, because our parents and our sisters and our aunties are still finding it very, very much difficult to talk to the young people about health, sexual education, which is really the greatest challenge, I must say, as to what we are talking about right now. Because if you really see what is happening in line to what we talk about the reproductive health, definitely you will be able to realize that many of our parents still find it very shy to also talk to their young ones, talk to their children about what we call, or maybe their sexual rights. And I believe that at the end of the day is also still costing people in terms of also the sexual and reproductive health knowledge there. And Minister for Disaster, Preparedness and Refugees, Honorable Engineer Hilary Onek, in his closing remarks also urged all stakeholders, especially the cultural leaders, to assist, that is also in the restoration order, that's through establishing maintenance of traditional values in children and youth. And also something also I must remind you of at the end of the day, that would be quite well and good. And I believe if at all that is done so, we may also really see people moving away from what we are talking about that. And I really believe that is something we are still talking about, and moving away from that. Now let's look at what activists are saying. Activists are calling for, that is what we call more funding in green financing. And more today with the issues of climate change, green financing is very, very much important, and that is why activists are now calling for more funding to that sector, which at the end of the day also will be a very good one. And I want to see maybe the issues of green financing being championed there, because if we talk about green financing, that means also we need to ensure that projects that we are funding, these are the ones that do not have any impact on the environment. And remember, government of Uganda has a number of has some money that is also being given out to also ensure that projects that are really being funded also are those that also promote green finance, and that's maybe the environment. And that's also a reason as to why activists are now calling for more funding that is for that aspect of green finance there. And that's something at the end of the day would help also us also from that that challenge of what we call the climate change, because sometimes the climate change is happening due to our activities that are not favorable to the environment. And activists from different civil societies in Uganda have urged the governments across the globe to prioritize green financing, and also to fund that is projects that are environmentally friendly and activities to also address the risks of climate change. And that's something also we are saying. And the 2023 Action Aid international studies show that major international banks play a big role also in financing fossil fuels and in the industrial agriculture in the global also south. And with a total of expenditure of that is 460 billion annually, and it also revealed that shillings 22 billion also goes to that is financing climate action and solutions. And while addressing journalists on April 30th at Kampala, Xavier Ejoy, the country director of Action Aid, that's international, also really said we can't be talking about what we affected by climate change and so on, and yet climate also change and so on also continues to also really have negative impacts. And that's also where Ejoy urged the countries to establish rights policies and strategies that will help that to regulate finances meant to also address what we term as the climate crisis in there. And on April 29th of this year, Action Aid Uganda had also really commenced its celebration of Climate Justice Week of Action that is expected that's also to end on May 17th this month. And that's something we also want to see to that also all the challenges that may be affecting the environment can be addressed. And the celebrations will involve activities such as sensitization, awareness, planting trees, symposiums, among others. And that's something we want to see it be extended up to Western Sub-region, because we want to see the issue of climate change, because climate change cuts across the whole world. It's a global concern, and of which you as a viewer also needs to be part of that concern. Because if you are not bothered about climate change and you going to cut down the trees, are you going to maybe set up buildings in wetlands, then definitely climate change also could be going on with its negative precautions. And today you see many people have also been able to plant trees and plant their crops, and I must say due to the impacts of climate change, we are seeing the food crops almost drying. Yesterday I was able to take a walk that is around Arua city in most of the places where people had planted, and due to the unstable status of rains, where rains also take sometimes 2 weeks. And I must say this is already affecting the farmers. I was able to see the crops due to my observation as I was able to move within Arua city. At least I must say I was able to see some of those crops that have been planted also really being very, very much stagnated there. And that is also a reason as to why we are talking about the issue of climate change. It must be everybody's concern. Youth also has a part to play, that's through planting trees. And the celebrations came at a time when the leaders of Loss and Damage Board kicked off with the first meeting in Dubai on Tuesday also really to discuss a way forward on climate change. And the board of Loss and the board of the Loss and Damage Fund also was formally established last year in the conference that's of Paris, where under COP of 2028 in Dubai, after decades of advocacy by civil society organizations and activists around the world, saying the countries that also really are on the receiving on climate change, such as Uganda and many countries in the global south, need to be also really compensated for the losses and damages they have been incurring, such as the result of climate change in there. And during the global conference, climate change also really negotiators agreed to allocate that is shilling 700 million towards the loss and fuel damage, and that's something we also want to remind you of as the viewer. Remember, the issue of climate change remains each and everybody's concern. You also really must be part of that. And how are we going to be ensuring that we talk about the issue of climate change not only here, but rather we also want to ensure that the reality is done, because we may be talking about that. What about also really the results? And that's something that does bring us to the end of that. And let's now see what is happening to the women lawyers who are saying they need also what we call the Kadi courts in Uganda, and this also to promote justice according to them. And we are saying, what are we going to be suing? Because this is against our laws. Sometimes we also being governed by what we call the Sharia courts. But now these leaders are saying there's need for also the county courts, also the Kadi courts to also be administered, where people can be able to administer justice freely. And at the end of the day, that is also something that we are going to be following up on. And I must say that is something we also need to support them. And this is also during their recent conferences. And remember, the Kadi courts could actually play a crucial role. And some of these courts, sometimes also the cases, could just be addressed through the Kadi courts, and I believe that would also really help address justice, and that means justice freely there. Because if you really see some of the issues happening within our families, within our societies, you realize that these are concerns that have been there. For instance, the family fights, rant wrangles, and issues of also really what we call compensation and also distribution of property. Sometimes also really this is where I believe this would be able to also really earn monies and also really earn justice also really for maybe boosting and supporting the judicial system, which today where we are seeing the judicial officials also really complaining and also really raising concerns over shortage of staffing that in there. And that is also a reason as to why there's still case backlog. And if you remove in the judicial, you will see that some of the cases are still very much and overwhelmed by the cases of case backlog in there. And I believe also the Kadi courts in my own opinion, it is my own opinion, they would also help administer justice for maybe the petty cases. For instance, also really the issues of maybe domestic violence. This is where the families could be able to also really rush out to. And then the issues of also really what we term maybe fights among families, distribution of will, maybe distribution of family properties. This would also really be able to be helped, that is to the Kadi courts. And that is also really something that does bring us to the end of discussion in relation to that. But before we get to move out to the show, remember up next is the news bulletin with Mukulia Lawrence. I can also see it being reflected on the screens. And I must remind you, up next is the news bulletin, which we are going to be also having shortly for now. But before we get to give you that, yesterday we did see also the test match, that's of Nambole Stadium. Remember, so many people also flocked in there, where at one time we did see the price of tickets rising, that is from 15,000 to up to 45,000. People were able to buy, and we still see people struggling to buy the tickets. And this is also really where we are saying, much as the tickets had been sold earlier on, Ugandans with late coming, also with late issues where they want to do things at the final stages. Yesterday we did see a number of them struggling to buy the tickets, and this is to watch the StarTimes Uganda Premier League games that did go on. That is at the StarTimes, also really at the Nambole Stadium that has just been renovated, and this is also to test the facility that is for the forthcoming bid, that's the Pamoja bid, where Uganda wants to host other international games. And remember, this is also where we did see government also injecting a lot of monies, and we now want to see the facility being developed. And in some of the games that we did see yesterday, KC was able to pick, that is a 2-0 win. And also we did see Vipers also really playing and losing, that is in the hands of Eastern Giants, that is Bull Football Club. And this also did see, these are the two games that we did see happening in there. And this was where we did see KC beating SC Villa by 2-0, where also really Sports Club Vipers lost, that is also really in the hands of Eastern Giants, Bull Football Club in there. And this also games also really made the table standings remain clear, where Kitara Football Club, after their crucial draw the other day, remained, that's on top of the log. And that's something, are we going to be seeing maybe that game determining who exactly will be crowned champions? And I must remind you, Chitara is not taking any chances, and that is also really why we'll be able to remain on top of the log. Following that is also the loss of 1-0, that is to Vipers, in the Vipers losing, that is also really their game yesterday, that is to Bull Football Club. And that does bring us to the end of today's discussion. And in Champions League tonight, there will also be games, and all this will be also really having maybe more analysis and details of that. That is through the Whistle Time. That is why you need to be part of the Whistle Time. That's from the hour of 2 to 3 p.m. when Owen Ezaga, together with Lina Susie, will be in the house to give you more of those games, right from what is happening at the regional leagues up to what we call the international leagues. And really that does bring us to the end of discussions. That is for Thursday edition, and we very, very much do appreciate you who watch us maybe on satellite, that is on channel 477 on StarTimes, and those who watch us online as well. We also really very, very much want to appreciate and laud you for watching West Nile Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV each and every Mondays to Fridays, right from the hour of 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock. And my name is FARISH Majid. Stay tuned for the news bulletin coming shortly with Mukulia Lawrence.